Hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com. Today is Friday, March 31st. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day. It's 2017, of course. We're going to take a look back, as we always do, at last week's eBay newsletter, see how things did on there. It was a pretty good week. You're going to see some nice prices, and a couple of real bargains went through, and I don't know where everybody was. Must have missed it, but it was in the newsletter. One of the things we've done with the newsletter is we've changed the way we've laid it out a bit. If some of you noticed, I got a couple of emails. We've made the images, more of the images directly linked just to each item. So the newsletter is more like a weekly catalog now. We still link to multiple items if they have quite a few things that are we think are particularly good, but we also want to just keep it focused on what we're seeing and what we come across during the week. So what do you say we get started? And we're going to go here to this first thing, this tray. I put this in because this is a wonderfully done tray. Very nice quality, 19th century. The seller had it as 18th century. I don't think it is, but it is 19th, and a beautiful quality wood and inlaid with mother of pearl with script and an artist seal on top of it. And the quality was very, very good. There's another mother of pearl piece coming up as well, but the quality of this is quite excellent. Beautifully done with the way the robes are executed and so forth. There's another shot of it from the side. A couple of minor cracks in the mother of pearl, which is typical. And it went for a bargain. It went for nothing, $112. Beautiful piece of art. And when you see mother of pearl trays like this, look at them carefully for the detail. If the detail is as good as what you see on these very fine Chinese export mother of pearl game counters, it's a good piece. It was made by a good artist, and this was one of them. And I think somebody got a terrific buy. It was offered by Gunnar Jacobson over in Sweden. And then we had this bronze. This was put up by a seller. He's sort of a friend of ours out in Illinois. Beautiful bronze, 18th century. Nice made patination. They were pretty good at patinating bronzes back then, and they could create these effects. And the seller included with it this really nice photograph. This 18th century painting was included. And notice the murals on the walls of this room that she was seated in. There's a jade over here. There's a nice hue-form bronze, ritual bronzes. Big piece of lacquer here, white lacquer, books, and so forth. And there's the bronze right here. She's also seated in a very nice bamboo chair. And again, this really well done table. So it's quite a thing. But anyway, it did very, very well. There's the stand. The stand isn't original. The stand is a 19th century stand, I think, but fitted it perfectly. It went for $9,300. But it's a rare thing and a good thing, I think. So somebody got a nice object. And there was this. This was our friend Kenny down in New Jersey, who sells things. He deals a lot in Chinese export and Kangxi pieces. He had this bowl, had a couple of minute repairs, restorations on the rim. He mentions everything, and it might have scared some people off with this really nice hunting scene. Hunting scenes are very desirable. I love the horse. I love horses, as everyone knows, on paintings. And it went for a really modest price, I think, $660. I don't think anybody overpaid for that. I think they got a nice buy for a good example. And there was this screen. Here's the other mother of pearl piece. This was a beautiful table screen that was put up from a seller in New York State. Beautifully done, mother of pearl, really nice quality. Again, I mentioned the quality before. Again, the detail is excellent, like those game counters. One or two minor losses, but the silk work was excellent. And it brought a very good price. It brought $3,383. Screens continue to be popular and growing in popularity with Chinese collectors. There's a tape measure again how big it was. It was a nice size, very nice size. And there was this Famille Rose box. We featured it because I thought it was very attractive. And I wasn't going to initially because it has quite a bit of damage to it. It's got a pretty good sized hairline here. It's got chips out of the foot. It's got a flaw there and all this other stuff. But it was a very interesting box with a Chin Lung mark on it. It wasn't Chin Lung, it was later, but nice box. And it went for $870. And that's kind of, I was a little surprised by that. I thought it would bring maybe $400 or $500, but those boxes are desirable for collectors. Joni's up in Canada had this at a big sale that ended on Monday evening. And there was this pair of jade belt hooks in here. In particular, like the one on the left, very classical with the chimera on it with the dragon. And the pair of belt hooks brought $7,300 for them, which is interesting because over in London at Kensington's you can buy them. They sell them sometimes in groups of 5 for around about £3,000. Unfortunately, Kensington is being closed, much to the horror of a lot of collectors and dealers. Then there was this Chinese export. Chinese export seems to be having a tough time lately. And this was a nice China trade mug for the American market. Beautifully done. It looked like it was in very nice shape all the way around. A lot of the gilding was still intact. And just a nice, honest, straight up 1780s mug, 1790s mug. And it went really reasonably, $278 for that mug, and it was a good size. You can tell by it's next to that Coke can. It was a nice big one, and had that sepia landscape in the center right there. Nice piece. China trade items seem to be becoming like the buy of the year. And then we had this wonderful. This was a nice Lung Yao piece with a white lip and beautiful shape. Here's the foot rip on it. It's a nice old one. Here's a detail of the mouth on it. It did very well. It brought a very nice price. It went for $2,927. It was only, I think it was 6 or 7 inches tall, but nice one. And this silk embroidery of the dragon. This was a good late 18th, early 19th century silk. Very nice quality, good color. Just well done all the way around. And there's the back of it. So you can show what it looks like. Notice how bright the colors are. That's what the front of it used to look like. These silks, people often think of these silks as being in soft, muted tones. When they were originally made, a lot of these silks that are sort of soft colors today were very bright, very vibrant. And it went for $1,149, but a very handsome example from a good seller that we keep an eye on over in Italy. And this was one of the folky items of the week. It was a bamboo teapot. Bamboo teapots are very unusual. You don't see them very often. If you're sitting at home saying, I don't think I've ever seen one, you probably haven't. And this one was done somewhat in the form of a known Yiqing pot form. It was a nice piece. It had a rather attractive sort of stippled ground with cutouts, birds on it. Nice example. It needed to be oiled. That's all that's wrong with it. It looks kind of dry. Probably was sitting in a dusty closet in a basement somewhere. And it went for nothing. It went for $139. Okay? That is nothing for this. I should have left a bid on it myself. There's the bottom of it. And someone got a fabulous buy if they're bamboo collectors. Because you try to go find a bamboo teapot. You won't. And this was another great buy for the week. This was a very nice 18th century, probably Kangxi bowl. Nicely drawn. And there's the interior of it. Minor rim frits around the edges. And but just a good example. This is from a seller we hadn't seen before. And I don't know where the buyers were, but this was silly. It went for $66 on 2 bids. Just really, really inexpensive. Really inexpensive for that. There's the bottom of it. There's the foot. That's a slam dunk Kangxi foot. Nicely done, and someone got it for a very, very modest price. And now on to this. This was the soapstone. We talked about it last week. This was a really nice, beautifully done soapstone, superb carving. The rocky base is sort of what you typically see for these, but the figures themselves were superbly carved, beautifully polished. Everything was proportional. The hands, everything was done nicely by a very, very good carver. And, you know, the bottom of the leg was missing here. And I kind of wondered if it would affect it, but I looked at the overall piece. I didn't think it would impact it too much because it's just a nice piece. And it didn't affect it too much. It still brought $5,746. Fine soapstone can bring a lot of money. And there was this. This was the pair of wall pockets we talked about last week. And I wanted to show people what they brought because they're unusual. You don't see Chinese export wall pockets in this style very often. Usually they're garniture vases. And has that stippled chicken skin ground. Very typical 1780s, 90s export, 1770s. And they did really well. They brought $1,624 for the pair. And they weren't enormous. They were, 7 or 8 inches tall. But unusual form, unusual form. And there was this pair of Japanese beakers with the hawks on them. I thought these were great. They're wired cloisonne. They're not wireless cloisonne. And they weren't signed. But the workmanship on them was excellent. There was even a little ding in the foot right here. But beautiful quality. There are the bases, no signatures. And I wondered how they would do. I thought they were quite attractive. Well, they did just fine. They brought $830 for this nice looking pair, mirror pair, and bravo! Some Japanese collector got himself a good buy. And there was this robe, a nice late 19th century robe. It was in very good condition from what we could see. A lot of silver thread in it. Nice decoration. The dragons were well articulated. The dragons were done like Ming dragons. Very muscular, very robust. And it did well. It brought $2,325. Sometimes these go for a lot less, but that was sort of a nice one. And this was a pot we had up. This came from a collection that we were involved with here in Massachusetts, and they had a lot of good Kangxi pieces. This was one. This was the Feminois teapot. Beautiful little teapot. It was in wonderful shape, nice colors, very precisely painted, and it did quite well. We were happy with it. It brought almost $1,200, $1,188. Good looking pot. And there was this was a Kangxi sleeve vase, a transitional period sleeve vase that was put up, nicely done. Here's the bottom of it, and what you want to see in a foot on one of these, sort of rounded and creamy and smooth. Nice example with a leaf on it. Here's another angle right there. Notice how neatly the glaze stops. That's a firing imperfection. That's not a crack. And it brought $1,526. Good solid price for one of those. Nice example. And then we moved over to this. This was this nice sort of Yongshan or possibly early Qianlong plate. This was a very pretty plate with overglazed pencil-drawn, this sort of pencil-drawn blue enamel, and this pond with fish and ducks and lotus blossoms and butterflies, and very Chinese taste. And I suspect a Chinese buyer bought it. They will buy these in China. They like them if they're Chinese taste. And it did quite well for a plate. It was a little over 12 inches. It was a charger. And it brought $1,625. Once these plates cross 12 inches, the prices rise exponentially, as many of you know. And this is a pot that's closing, a very nice teapot that we have. It's on the newsletter now. We're going to add some things tomorrow and today to it. But this is a very nice pot. It's on right now. Beautiful early, mid-18th century example. Superbly well drawn. Just a nice pot, and there's some other things you might want to check out. And that's it. There's a lot of other stuff. If you want to go and see what the prices were for everything else, go to the newsletter before we switch it around, and you can just go to the completed listings and see how things did to stay informed. It's important to keep up with these things. All right, and now we're going to move over to this. There's last week we talked about a little bit is this series of auctions that are coming up at Sotheby's very soon, this coming week, and the catalogs are all on the site here. Here they all are. We talked about the photography sale last week, but there's a number of other sales here, and Sotheby's more and more is going to these specialty catalogs for each collector. So for example, you have the Jundi bowl here. It's the only lot in the auction. But a very, very rare bowl. It's estimate on request. It'll probably bring $8 or $10 million. But they're trying to focus more on collections. This is a single owner collection, but all of them have, typically have, one or two to maybe 15 or 20 items in them. But it's nice examples. And this is the Jeune bowl. Nice thing. And they did a good job with it. Regina Crowell did the write-up. She is a spectacularly knowledgeable lady that does the cataloging when they need her for Sotheby's. And here's the bowl. And if you're interested in early Ming fish bowls or early Ming blue and white, this is a great read. It's beautifully written, a lot of information in here. They give other examples at comparables. They have multiple shots from different sides. There's a beautiful picture of this thing. You can really get a look at the decoration. There's the panoramic they did of it to show you the continuous scenes of the fish and so forth. It's a very nice catalog. It's worth browsing. It'll stay on the site forever, so anytime go over and take a look at it. And then we have this catalog here. They put on the cover this big moon flask. This was once in the Chow collection. It's coming up again. It should do very well. The only thing I'm concerned a little bit about in some of these Sotheby's sales is you'll notice in the provenance, you'll notice that a lot of the history of these pieces, they've been auctioned within the last 10 or 15 years. And they're more and more showing provenances to dealers. Notably, Jim Lally, who's a great dealer. He used to be the head of Sotheby's in Hong Kong. He's a spectacularly bright man. One of these collections was built almost entirely from his stock. He was obviously representing the buyer or the collector, and got him some fabulous things. This bowl was one of them. So take a look at the catalogs, and then there's the Pilkington collection. This is a small collection, 6 pieces, but some of the most beautiful yellow wares you're ever going to see. There's on the cover right here. There they all are. Just great, and very nice photography, well written. There's a Chunwa bowl and so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see how those sales do on the heels of the booming sale that Christie's had just a couple of weeks ago in New York. So that's it for the week. If you don't get the newsletter notifications when they're updated each week, sign up for it right here on the page under the newsletter section, and subscribe to us here on YouTube if you want to see more of these each week. We do them every week. And have a great weekend, everybody. And talk with you all next time. Bye-bye.